What is up, everyone? I'm Skratch. Welcome to the channel. This is another Raid Shadow Legends video. Today, guys, I want to talk about the Chimera, the importance of trials, and how to build that ultimate team that will allow you to complete as many trials as possible without using Galatir's Star Sage, which is one of the most OP mythical champions for this content. I don't have him. The world record for the highest amount of trials at the moment is 18, and that is, of course, with Galatir. Now, we're going to try to come as close as possible to that without using Galatir. So I'm going to share you guys the team that I've been using to get a lot of trials. Truth be told, this is a very end game guide, okay? So I'm going to have some pretty nasty builds on some of the champions. And keep in mind, I will have some relics available by now because I've been farming the Chimera for over 3 weeks now, right? This will be the 4th week. Now, this is actually on the previous rotation, guys, but it's going to work just fine on the next rotation. I will give you guys a couple of different tips to basically prepare for this current rotation. I'll be dropping a few different guides as well on different teams for rotation 2. But without further ado, guys, let me just quickly explain you why the trials are more important than anything else, okay? I wish I would have, to be honest, Galatir to be able to complete another one of the super important trials, but unfortunately, that is not the case. So, starting with the very first form, which is the ramp form that will allow you to get trials. As you guys may notice, I am talking about Ultra Nightmare here. It's going to work the same on each one of the difficulties, but I'm going on the hardest possible difficulty, right? So you are getting mythical materials. The only place to get mythical materials for your relics is from trials, basically. And I would strongly suggest you do not burn all of these materials in mixing them up with epics and rares. Save your mythicals, save your legendaries, and feel free to mix epics and rares if you want, or do them epics and rares separately, basically to increase your chance at getting a better relic. I actually took a screenshot from the test server with all of the drop rates or the summoning chances if you're mixing each one of the materials individually and separately and stuff like this. I might do a video just to showcase that at some point. But either way, we're going to need fear. Through fear, we can get that done by bringing in Lydia. We're going to need to basically damage the Chimera on all 5 of its forms by using either enemy max HP, poisons, HP burn, or smite. Smite being brimstone. So the best things to do is basically have a brimstone and have an HP burn. Now, there is a bit of an RNG in here, but that can be sorted. Then you have the hard one, deplete the Chimera's dual bar. This is almost impossible at the moment. There are a few trials that are super dumb and you just won't make it happen. You need to deal 12 million damage on the ramp form to basically deplete the Chimera's dual bar within 5 turns. Not going to happen. No matter what you're using in there, you need to keep the champions alive. It's just almost impossible. I'm not saying that we're not going to be able to complete it in the future with some new champions maybe, or some different combinations of teams and focus specifically on this, but to be honest, it's just too hard. Then, moving on to the next one, you will require an increased accuracy. We're going to use Lady Mikage for this because we want to have the increased attack as well from her. We want to have the ally attack. We want to have the A2 that increases the buffs, decreases the buffs on the enemies as well, gives us a bit of a cleanse too. So very, very important to have Mikage in there. We're going to get an increased accuracy. Then we're going to get an increased crit damage from her ally attack skill as well, which will be required for this trial right here. So we're going to have to metamorph with Mikage. I'm going to show you all that in a second. Then you need a champion that can deal at least 750k with one skill, which, let's be honest, if you're doing Ultra Nightmare, that won't be a problem for you because you already have multiple options most likely. So you will need to have weaken and defense down on the enemies. Then this one right here is a bit harder because you need to keep your champion alive. Very similar with the second one, because if your champion is not staying alive after dealing the damage won't count. So these are bugs at the moment. Hopefully they will fix them in the future. And you need a perfect veil, and you need a defense down on the enemy. Now, getting that perfect veil on a champion, it can be hard. It really depends what champion you're using. I'm using Elva, and I'm going to show you exactly how I've done it. to make sure I'm getting that perfect veil on my champion to be able to put up this trial in the very first run. Then, place 6 unique debuffs on the Chimera and 6 unique buffs. Pretty straightforward. You just gotta try to keep a bit of a track of when you're using the skills. This one right here, I almost completed this as well. But unfortunately, the Chimera had a very long cooldown on the skill that was attempting to place the stun on everybody. So just with the A1 from the Chimera was not enough to get to 8, but I ended up with 6, which hopefully I'm gonna do it next time. Then, the Lion form is pretty straightforward. You're gonna be able to deal the first one with increased defense, if you're bringing in an increased defense damage dealer, of course. I'm going to use Alice for this team as a damage dealer, as the only damage dealer, in fact. It is worth it to try and complete it. You're only getting 9 pieces of materials from here. This is just not doable. You're not going to absorb damage using shields, okay? It's a very dumb trial as well, which is way overboard, super hard to complete. And to be honest, I have people that recently tried directly to complete this one, and still, even though they had all of that shield in, they were not able to do it. Then, the third one, block damage using block damage and unkillable. It can happen if you get to it, but again, that form doesn't seem to do enough damage. Now, we have the next one right here. Damage the Chimera within 3 turns. Pretty straightforward, nothing too crazy, but enemy max HP won't work. Then you have the second part, decrease speed, defense down. Pretty straightforward. This one gives you very good materials, and it gives you the gemstones. Is a huge one that you want to complete. Damage the Chimera with counter attacks and ally attack. Easy with Lady Mikage. Then you have this one. Damage the Chimera while it is under a leech. Pretty straightforward. Now, I cannot move from here to the next one because I don't have the decreased resistance. So, I cannot complete this one and this one with the reflect damage or pain link. That, again, is a very dumb trial. Very hard to complete. They've made some of the trials so stupid, pardon my French, that if you're not bringing in a specific champion that only deals with that trial and doesn't do anything else for your team, is completely rubbish, you're not gonna do it, basically. At least with what champions we have in the game at the moment. Then, on the Viper form, block active skills, Lydia, easy peasy. Block buffs and HP burn. So that's another hard one to do in here. You need a champion with HP burn. So Lydia can put the block buffs. So I have Alice because he metamorphs and brings in HP burn with the second form. That's when I'll be using his second form. Then this one right here, I actually got wrecked on it, but I'm going to explain in a second. You need 10 debuffs, but no block active skills. So you can do it, but you need to make sure you have at least 8 debuffs before you're using Lydia's A3 when you are on this one, because she will prioritize poison sensitivity, block buffs, and block active skills as the third one. Now, for me, I got resisted on the block buffs, so I got wrecked. I was not able to complete this trial because I was already on the second round. Then you have damage the Chimera with poison under poison sensitivity. Dumb, okay? Dumb. You basically need a Theodore in here to activate the poisons. If you don't have a poison activator, you're not going to do this trial, okay? Then keep your allies alive for 3 Chimera turns. Successfully revive. Is not going to happen because you're not going to be the first one, right? So there are a few ones that you're just not going to do. I'm doing this one. Increase attack, decrease attack and increase speed. Easy. Damage the Chimera with a single skill while your champions are under an increased attack and block buffs. Block debuffs buff, sorry. Again, immunity, increased attack from Lady Mikage, job done. The problem is the next one. Resist 20 debuffs while the Chimera is under a decreased accuracy and your champions are under increased resistance. It's something that I cannot do. But without further ado, you've seen how many materials you can get from here. It's actually extremely important to try and get that done, guys. More important than focusing on getting high numbers for the milestones in the Clash, okay? So I'm not getting my milestone rewards every week. I'm getting them every second week. So I'm doing around 4.5 billion with both of the keys. So I'm not stressing too much about getting 3 gemstones and an epic one, right? I'm not saying they're bad, but I have much higher priorities than focusing on scoring high and not putting in enough trials, okay? let me show you what I've been using. So I have Alice in the team. Actually, he was not with that aura in, so I have a feeling that I backed out of this run at some point for whatever reason, and then I came back into it. Let me just quickly see the start, because I know I've used Necmo as the lead 100%, unless this is not the right video. Yeah, Necmo is in the lead. There you go. So probably I stopped it and started it again when I've realized. So we have Alice. He's going to bring increased defense. He's going to be the main damage dealer. He's going to bring HP burn. We don't care about his fear or anything like that. We're going to have Negmotar for increased speed. 4 decreased speed. 4 leech. 4 decreased attack. Lady Mikage for increased attack. 4 increased crit rate. For ally attack. We're going to have her for increased accuracy. We're going to have her for increase the duration of buffs. Decrease the duration of debuffs. And decrease the duration of buffs on the boss. We're going to have Elva for heals. Continuous heals. Cleanse, block debuffs, more increased speed, revive. And we're going to have Lydia for block active skills, block buffs, poison sensitivity, which won't really matter, it's just an extra debuff, defense down, weaken, increase speed, increase and strengthen, and fear on the A1. So that's basically my team. Now I don't have high blessings on all the champions. I actually have a 6-star on Alice, thankfully. He was built for Arena. With Polymorph, I changed that to Crushing Grand to be able to generate enough damage with him alone as a damage dealer. And that's how I was able to basically get higher amount of trials done at the same time. Then, I do have relics on pretty much every single one of the characters, but I will share the builds with you guys and everything in a second. It's not like I have super crazy relics or high levels or crazy gemstones or anything like that. It's just the regular trash that drops for all of us, basically, right? Rare relics or epic relics that dropped for the last few weeks. Now, Alice, as a damage dealer, guys, with the build that I have, he gets up to like 1 million per hit with the A2, but only once he starts stacking the passive. He needs to counterattack a lot to get that organized. So the importance of knowing when to use the skills is key, okay? Very important to make sure you're not wasting your skills, to make sure you're basically saving the right skills for the next form. Don't debuff on turn 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, etc. because it's pointless. The boss will metamorph and you are going to basically lose all of the debuffs that you've placed on the boss. And you want to make sure you have the skills available. When the boss metamorphs from a form to the ultimate form, you don't want to have a lot of buffs, especially if they're not protected, because the more buffs the boss removes, the more damage is going to deal, and it can wipe your entire team, no matter how tanky they are. It happened to me when I wasn't paying enough attention. On the very first run I've done with the team was the test run, and it wiped my entire team. You know, I was like, okay, I definitely need to pay more attention to this, right? So the damage is not looking crazy at the moment. As I mentioned, the whole idea of this team is not to go and score 500-600 million damage. The whole idea of the team is to actually get a lot of trials completed. And just to show you quickly, I was able to complete exactly 16 trials with this team. Super close to 18 trials, but you're going to see that throughout the run. 18 is the maximum, and that's with Galatir. So this team has the potential to reach 18 trials as well if you are doing everything perfectly, if the RNG doesn't screw you. So unfortunately, I got smacked at 16, but hey, we're going to try to do it next time. So right here, you don't want to debuff. You want to make sure you're keeping the right skills available. You will need the cleanse for the next form to put immunity up, make sure you're not getting stunned. You want to have the block damage from Alice. It's so important to have a block damage champion for the Ram form if you want to complete the trials at the moment, because it is bugged, right? And to stop your champions from needing to revive all the time. That's why I really decided to bring in Alice. There are a lot of weird bugs in the Chimera as well. So we're going to let Necmo die. We're going to revive him. Then we're going to try to put one debuff because the passive will activate on the boss. So we've put a fear. Not the defense down or weaken because that will get wasted. We're going to put the increased accuracy. Now we're actually going to drop as many debuffs as possible. I'm not going to go for the extra turn with Negmotar just yet because I want to make sure I have the increased accuracy to land that decrease attack as well. We're gonna bring in more debuffs with Lydia. You see, you wanna have that immunity here, at least on your cleanser, so you can instantly cleanse after if the boss will land a stun on you. Super, super important. Right now we have block damage, I have fear, I have defense down, weaken, and bang, we use the skill with Alice. That will take us much closer to reach, to complete the very first few trials, right? So it's very important to time everything as much as possible. You see, we have a lot of damage dealt from it. Now, the one with the perfect veil is the hardest one to get done, at least in this format. So sometimes what I'm doing to make sure I have that sorted, either I'm going to kill Alice to revive him with Elva. I had bugs where I revived Alice without perfect veil, which was pretty weird. But once again, you want to make sure you have the block damage available in a situation like this, because if you're not going to be able to put block damage on your team when Alice is using the skill, it won't count, right? Because you don't have it's just bugged, basically. If your champion dies, it doesn't count the damage. So I'm extending the duration of buffs with Mikage to make sure I have the veil on for 2 turns on him. Put the block damage, and now I should have the A2 available, and I should be able to instantly smash that that trial right there. So that's the whole juice in the run here, basically, versus this form. This is the toughest form, so that's why I'm focusing on this one. I'm not really gonna go through the rest as in depth as on this one. So right now, I need to place all of these debuffs. Unfortunately, I just lost Lydia. The boss has 2 more turns before his metamorphing, and I'm not sure what buffs, what debuffs I need to put right here, because as you guys may notice, I already have a lot of debuffs on the boss. So I need to pay attention to that as well. I have the 6 unique buffs right now, so I need basically debuffs. And I've done a stupid thing right here, I think. I haven't extended the duration. Okay, I thought that I've done that, but I did. I did. So I wasn't supposed to do that, to be honest, because if I'm not replacing these debuffs, I'm not going to be able to basically add them to count on. So if I already have a 2-turn debuff on, and I'm bringing in another 2-turn debuff that's the same, it's not going to get replaced. So it's not going to count as placed on the boss, right? So that's very important. You see, the dual bar is not 12 million, it's 16. 12 million is on a Nightmare. On Ultra Nightmare is 16 million damage. It's just not going to happen, right? Because if your champions are constantly dying, you need to revive. You're just not going to be able to pump in so much damage to deplete the dual bar. And what sucks is that you don't want any of your champions to have that. You want them to die. Because if they don't die and they have the dual bar on, they're only going to be able to use their basic skill, which is super bad. You're not going to be able to land any of your debuffs, especially if you're running, for example, Nekmotar like I did right here. So that really sucks. So the first round, we managed to complete 5 trials on this form. So let me just stop it right here. You see, we got to hard. This is something that we're not going to be able to complete. We still have to complete this one. Basically, deal in 1 skill 750k damage while the boss is under weaken or defense down. It's going to be a piece of cake. And I still need to do the normal one on the 3rd trial, which if I was able to do in the first round, unfortunately, I got close to it. Then on the 2nd round, when we're getting to the ram form, we were going to be able to complete the hard version of it as well. But unfortunately, it was not meant to be in this run, and I'm definitely not going to restart an entire run just to complete 1 or 2 extra trials, right? Even though it's worth getting the materials, it does take time and stuff like this. And it takes time to perfect the very first form, and the RNG matters quite a bit. So I'm fine to restart a run if on the first form of the ram right here, 7 minutes in, I'm just doing bad, basically. But if that's not the case, hell, I am not going to restart a run. So the next ones are pretty straightforward. The lion form, the viper form are easy in terms of trials, at least on the easy normal ones. What I do want to show you again is once we're going to get back to the ram form, and then we're going to go to the viper form to show you basically what happens. So here as well, one quick tip that maybe a lot of you guys are ignoring. When you're switching to the viper form, you want to make sure you don't put immunity, okay? Because if you're putting immunity, you're slapping yourself, basically. So I'm going to let the boss to basically metamorph. with as few buffs as possible, because the Viper form will still buffs. I don't want that boss to have everything that I have on my menu, basically, right? So I'm dodging to put immunity on. You see, it stole my buffs. Now, what I can do from here on is basically decrease the duration of those buffs on the boss with Mikage. That's why I'm using her. And then I'm going to cleanse with Elva. Drop all of those poisons and poison sensitivity. They're not going to be a threat or anything like that. I will put a block damage, get in a couple of counterattacks. And once you are basically blocking the active skills with Lydia's A3, you're going to be fine, because the boss won't be able to use any of the skills except the basic skill. Now, the basic skill can be pretty nasty, so you do want to make sure you're keeping that immunity up as much as possible. And what I'm trying to do right here, and I did mess that up a little bit, to be honest, is try and land as many debuffs as possible. I need to reach 10 debuffs without block active skills. So I cannot do that without using Lydia's A3. That's why I have a toxic set on Mikage. Mainly to complete this freaking trial, guys. And to complete, of course, other trials that require debuffs is very, very helpful. So instead of running a 9-piece protection on Mikage, I'm running a toxic set. So I am, in a way, thinking to give that to Lydia, but then on Lydia I have a 9-piece feral, and that drops me a lot of damage. So I don't really want to change that, you know. I'm going to try to land as many debuffs as possible. The problem is I'm getting resisted. And personally, I haven't noticed that initially when I was doing the run. So I quickly wrote in my clans Discord, guys, have they changed the way Lydia works? Because she put block active skills in front of block buffs. And then I had a few other people saying, yeah, you cannot complete that anymore. It doesn't work like that. And then I was okay. It worked for the other 3 weeks, but seems like maybe they've changed it. And then I've talked with other people about it. And some were saying, no, nothing changed. Some were saying, yes, it's changed. You see, I'm changing form right here to apply the HP burn for the next trial. And I am on 16 trials right now. I want to make sure I have as many debuffs as possible on the boss. I'm extending the duration of those debuffs. At the moment, I only have, I actually have 8. So I should more or less try with Lydia to put it. So this was one of my stupid mistakes in here. I can't remember if I've tried to do it here or I've tried to do it only after. Yeah, you see, I'm supposed to try and do it there. Maybe I wasn't going to get resisted. Instead, I waited for the next one to try and get to 9 because I was greedy to make sure everything's spot on. And I got resisted on the block buffs. So, in fact, nothing changed, guys. It just got resisted for me on the block buffs. And that really, really sucked, to be honest. But, hey, it is what it is. It stopped me from completing 17 trials instead. We'll definitely get it done next time. So again, we're checking how many we have on. We have 6. The boss stole some buffs from me because it doesn't have block active skills. So that's something that I do need to keep in mind as well. But once again, we have 3, 7 debuffs only. So I'm waiting a little bit longer to apply a few more debuffs in there to make sure we are getting up to 8. So I need a poison from Mikage in here. I still have that HP burn from Alice. So I'm really, really counting on getting some poisons in. You definitely don't want to put counterattack before the boss is about to steal your buffs in here, you see? And block active skills. That's what I saw instantly. And I was like, wait, something changed. And then you see the resisted popping in 5 minutes later. That's for the block buffs. So that's why I was not able to complete the 17th trial though. And on the actual ramp form, let me just quickly show you that as well, which should be right here. So I was so close to complete this as well and get to 18 trials, guys. I was gutted that I haven't managed to get to it, to be honest. Alice is dead, is fine. We basically have one more turn from the boss. The skill that lands AoE, crowd control, is on a 2-turn cooldown. So I know this is not going to be used by the boss. So I know I'm not going to be able to complete it anymore. But the A1 from the boss will attempt to land a crowd control debuff on your champion. A stun or something. I can't remember exactly. Most likely a stun. So I got all the way up to 6 out of 8. If I was managing to complete the normal one on the first cycle of the rotation, I was gonna get this done as well. So I just wanted to share this with you guys because I know a lot of you guys are looking like me at Galatir. I haven't really bothered to try and do as many trials because I don't have Galatir. And then I was like, you know what? Let me just try to change a few things around. Let me just try to see if by any chance I can get close enough to 15 trials. And funny enough, I discovered that we can actually put in more than that, right? So pretty solid result. Let me just quickly show you the damage as well. So I've got 123 million damage. I actually got pissed off right here because I was not completing this trial, so I just let the team die. I just pressed random skills, and I was like, F this, because I had enough damage anyway to get a top chest, right? So we have 120 plus million, and I have a lot of buffs on. I just got pissed off, basically. So look at this. The boss will instantly wipe me, you see? So that's something you need to keep in mind. You want to make sure you're not keeping a lot of buffs on. But either way, 16 trials, 123 million damage. We have, of course, Alice with 92.7 million damage. 6-star Crushing Rend is mandatory to make this work with one single damage dealer. If you don't have that, you're not going to be able to pull off the numbers to get the top chest as well. And it's not worth it to go just for trials and not reach the top damage, right? And the sweet, precious rewards right here. Tons of materials. A legendary gemstone. Unfortunately, I haven't completed other trials that were giving me better rewards because they were locked behind different conditions, but that rotates every week, in case if you are not familiar with it. So this week, I'll be able to complete something better. 16 mythical is massive, right? Keep in mind, you're not getting them from anywhere else. That's why this should be everyone's main priority. The relics are huge, guys. So, leaving that on the side, let me just quickly share the builds with you guys, show you the relics and everything else that I have on them. Starting with Alice, he's the damage dealer. Do not get intimidated. He does have pretty good stats. What I am planning to do next is to change the Savage to a 6-piece Merciless. Now, that will cost me. I will lose probably 30 speed. I will lose 50 crit damage or so. And I will have the decreased cooldowns. More A2s, more A3s. So that will make up for the damage. Plus, I'm going to ignore 10% additional defense. So, I do have a relic. The relic is level 12. I actually invested all of my materials that I had available into this relic. Why? Because it gives me crit damage. To be honest, I don't even think this relic works. Wearer has a 20% chance to deal 10% more damage when attacking. I haven't really noticed it working, but I did notice the gemstone working. When using multi-hit skills, each consecutive hit after the first one that a wearer makes will deal 3% more damage. So this one definitely works because I've seen it in action. I've seen the second hit being higher. Out of all that, I got this. So all of the materials that dropped gave me this super OP relic. Crazy for Tranda and different champions. Total stats on Alice, guys. 7.1k defense, 267 speed, 400 crit damage. Keep in mind, that's with the relic, that's with the blessing, and all the crazy things that basically power creep the champions. 335 accuracy. You don't really need more than that. Keep in mind, he is going to stack defense with his passive, right? This will give him defense, 100% more of what he has. Then, of course, he ignores resistance, 20% of the resistance, so you don't need to have so much accuracy. These are the masteries. Very important to try and make the most out of it. This is going to be irrelevant. This is going to be irrelevant. So I changed the masteries from arena to basically PvE content. I could go in with more accuracy from here and get a cycle of magic, but I prefer to get the retribution because very often he will counterattack with masteries, you know, so that's very helpful for his passive to build up the damage. The next champion on the list is going to be Elva. So Elva is the only champion that I have on 9-piece protection. I prioritize high speed, as much as I can with high HP to make sure she's not going to get wrecked by any of the bosses. And I don't want her being the highest defense, right? I want to make sure she has more crit damage then Lydia, and then Nekmotar to make sure the Ram form will never ever prioritize her no matter what. Okay, so I actually have a double roll on crit damage. Not a crit damage amulet, but I looked for a crit damage on some of the substats where it was possible to make sure I'm getting that sorted. I do have a relic on her, and that's Golden Elixir, level 9. What's really, really important is if you have these rare gemstones, which by the looks of it, everybody does because all I'm getting is the same one, Thermitter increase effects are 10% more effective on the wearer. So Negmotar will boost the Thermitter. Having this on will give you slightly more Thermitter, and it does add up, right? Then, in terms of a blessing, I have Nourish on her. She's only at a 4-star, so I'm not really getting insane value out of it, but hey, it does help me to get a bit of additional healing from her continuous heal and restores destroyed max HP. Then Masteries, defense, support, and I have timely intervention. I want to make sure she gets as many turns as possible. I want to make sure I have the revive skill available as often as possible. I want to see as much Thermitter as possible on this champion. Then the next one is going to be Lydia, guys. So Lydia will be on a 9-piece feral. I gave her a bit of damage. I gave her survivability as well. Before, I had more attack and lower HP, and she used to die pretty much all the time when the boss was metamorphing into the ultimate form. So I went in with 9-piece feral, crit rate gloves. I have a bit of crit damage on her, 4k attack. I know I said highest crit damage than Lydia. I meant to say Mikage before, sorry, with Elva. Mikage and Negmotar in my case. So 4k attack, 76k HP, 500 accuracy is a decent spot. 5-star Brimstone. Brimstone is massive, 350k whenever it procs. Because we're overlapping the boss so much, we're going to have that available pretty much all of the time. Then this is the Relic. Again, level 6. The same gemstone, rare gemstone, Thermitter increase effects are 10% more effective. Masteries, offense, support, War Master as tier 6. Then we have Lady Mikage. And she is built on 5-piece protection and toxic set. Total stats, 86k HP, 3.6k attack, 4.5k defense. Full crit, 92 crit damage, so much lower than what Elva has. 367 accuracy, more than enough. I have another golden elixir because that's everything that I got in the first few weeks. Only this relic as an epic. I was actually getting pretty frustrated. Same gemstone, Thermitter increase effects are 10% more effective on the wearer. The other one is irrelevant. I'm not even sure why I even equipped it on her, to be honest. These are the masteries. Offense, support, in a way or another, similar with what Lydia has. And I have cruelty as a blessing. Now, I actually have cruelty on 2 different champions. If I would have a 6-star cruelty, I would only keep it on 1, to be honest. But hey, that's something to aspire to in the future. And then we have Nekmotar. The reason why I kept him for the last, because I will give you guys a couple of different tips on how to build him for this new rotation, which is Magic Affinity, and will make him suffer a lot. So, he's built on a Relentless and on an Impulse set. I have a Pinpoint accessory, a Refresh accessory, everything that will help me get the right stats in terms of speed and accuracy. So we have 69k HP, 5k defense, 334 speed, 464 accuracy. And trust me, is more than enough, especially with the masteries. In terms of relics, I have the Gilded Dragonstone. So this was a different relic that I was considering in putting on Alice. But then I was like, you know what, I'm going to try the other one. It gives me crit damage. He's already going to gain tons and tons of defense. So let me just try something else. But this is a pretty good relic for defense-based nukers or champions. Every time they get hit, they're going to increase their defense, stacking up to 10. And thankfully, I have a mythical gemstone, which is amazing. Not like it's going to change the game or anything, but it can help a bit. Every time the wearer is revived, it decreases all incoming damage by 10%, stacking up to 30%. So this is a pretty solid gem. I'm not sure if it ever resets, to be honest. You know, like maybe when they metamorph or anything like that, but it shouldn't because it's not a new round. So it will stack pretty quick, which will make Necmo tankier, basically. Masteries, we have offense and support. Again, very similar with what Lydia and Mikage has as well. And I do have cruelty on him too. If I would have a 6-star cruelty, the other blessing that I would get on would be intimidating presence to try and boost the speed aura or something like that can benefit my my team a little bit. Either way, that was all in terms of builds. Now, how do you want to build Nekmotar for this rotation? Impulse or a 4-piece Merciless if you're able to do that. And you want to go on Affinity Breaker, guys. So I'm going to change this build that you currently see on right here. Let me just make sure I'm saving it. I'm going to change it for an Affinity Breaker set. I actually started forging a few pieces today because I do have some, but I don't really have like a lot of them. So I need to focus on getting some that have high speed instead of the Relentless set. Okay? And this will give you 50% chance to weak hit to critical hit. It's going to be massive for Nekmotar on this rotation. A lot of people are constantly asking me, Skratch, who can we bring instead of Nekmotar in the team? You don't really have a better replacement than him. 30% Termiter is massive. Decrease speed leech and decrease attack. Super important trials. So you're not going to have a better replacement. Yes, you can look at Eos trade, but she's not going to bring you leech. She's not going to bring you a decrease attack, right? So there are a few things that will basically mess up some other trials if you're dropping him out. So I'm not planning to drop him out. That was all for the video. Hopefully you found it helpful. As I mentioned, this was a very endgame guide for people that are looking to improve on trials, regardless of the difficulty. If you're trying to do Nightmare, if you're trying to do Brutal, you're not going to require to have the same stats on your damage dealers. But keep in mind, the better the stats, the better. Hopefully you found it helpful. If you did, smash a like, subscribe to the channel, and I will catch you all in the next video. Peace.